I'm there now. You can check me. Hello, everyone. This live stream is supposed to have started like some minutes ago, but I'm having technological issues, but I think I'm good now. Is anybody here? Hello? Hello, I think I'm just going to proceed because after this live session, this video is still going to be available. So in case you couldn't make it in right here now, you can always tune in later, okay? So welcome everyone. What's up and welcome everyone to Pj-Cosmopolitan. I'm Peace Ogorumbi and I'm a registered nurse and I'm a registered midwife. And today I have a very, very important topic to discuss, and that is on the subject of substance abuse, okay? But before I continue, I'd like to emphasize that, okay, this is actually my very first live stream session here. And I really appreciate everyone for, yeah, I know I saw some people already came in the other time, but I don't know, for some reasons, like, I'm really sorry. I really appreciate you coming in and tuning in. And this is also to say that this particular topic I'm discussing is in conjunction with the ref purpose, okay? So in case you don't know, the Red Purpose is a small community of Christian ladies and believers who help you like build your excellence. They help you unleash excellence in so many ways, and as well, they also help you build your confidence through so many ways. So feel free to check them out. They have a page on Facebook. I'm going to ask the convener to drop the link so I can attach it to the bio. Like I can attach it to the links on this particular video so you can check them out later if that is something that you're interested in. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. Okay, substance abuse is not something that you're hearing for the first time. Probably you have heard so many people said so many things. I know you probably know one person who knows one other person, okay, who knows another person that has abused substance. And it's not limited to a particular continent alone. If you go to Asia, go to Africa, go to different parts of the world, you're going to see and hear that people are struggling with substance abuse, regardless of the fact that a lot of people have heard, okay, they know that this thing is really dangerous. It's money consumed, it consumes money, and it's detrimental to their health. Yet, sorry, beg your pardon. Yet they still have a lot of issues, like they're struggling with cutting down, changing the habits, the pattern that they have managed to build for a very long time. So that is why we need to keep talking about this particular topic, because it's becoming a serious global menace, and that's contributed to so many issues, like so many issues as relating to like physical, psychological, emotional, and social well-being of individuals. Okay, so that's why we feel like it's imperative we keep creating awareness and keep letting people get informed so that they can eventually make informed decisions for themselves. Okay, so basically the areas or the parts of this substance abuse I'm going to be talking about is we are going to consider what exactly substance abuse is. Of course, some people want to know, is there a difference between substance abuse, drug abuse? Okay, we are going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the common drugs that people abuse. Okay, why do people abuse these drugs? And we're going to talk about the prevention. Eventually, we're going to talk about the prevention. Okay, so let's start straight out. So what exactly is substance abuse? Substance abuse is the same thing as drug abuse. So every time you hear substance abuse, they're simply saying drug abuse. Now, drug abuse or substance abuse is just when you abuse a particular substance, drug or alcohol, okay, in either the way or in the amounts or in the method that you use the particular substance, and eventually it leads to negative consequences on you, not just you, on your health, on your relationship, like the relationship you have with people around you, and as well on your overall well-being. Okay, so when you use a particular substance in a way that it becomes harmful, or in an amount, it's a patterned use. Read again: patterned use of a particular drug, okay? So when you use a particular drug in a particular way or in an amount or using a particular method such that it eventually leads to harmful effects on you or people around you, then that means you're abusing substance or you're abusing drugs. Now, drug abuse and substance abuse are a little bit different, but the major difference between drug abuse and substance abuse is just the intent of the user. For instance, if you you abuse drug, okay, if you talk about drug abuse, let's say you are sick. There's actually a particular ailment in the case of drug abuse, but you're not using that particular drug in the way that it is intended to be used. For instance, for as an adult now, we all know that if you want to take paracetamol, Paracet in some cases where people call it, now you use 1000 milligrams as an adult. Now let's say you're having this particular serious pain and you decide to use 1000 milligrams of paracetamol. Now, after some time, let's say you're supposed to use it 8 hourly, okay? That means if you use it now, before you are entitled or you're supposed to use it again, should be in another 8 hours. So after another 8 hours, you're supposed to use another. Now, but if you choose or you decide to use this same substance, like just now you're having pain, you use like 1000 milligram. In another 1 hour, you doubled the dose. Okay, let's say in another 1 hour you used another 500. That is an abuse of that drug because you're not using it in the method or in the pattern in which it is intended to be used. I don't know if you're getting it. Now, so the major difference between an abuse and a misuse is the intent. But for someone who misuses the drug, right? Now you are using it to get a particular feeling, like you're using it for something totally different. It's not intended, this thing is not intended for the reason for which you're using it. Okay. So misuse and abuse, they are very close, but they're a bit different. The intention of the user is what determines the difference. Right? Now, so let's talk about the um, common drugs. Okay, before I talk about common drugs that people abuse, it's very, very difficult to talk about substance abuse without talking about mental health. Okay, the two work hand in hand because substance will always interfere with your mental state. Okay, so now mental health is just your level of psychological, your level of physical, and your level of social well-being, but not merely the absence of a mental condition, depression, or anxiety. We are saying that even if you don't have a known mental condition, even if you don't have depression, even if you don't have anxiety, it doesn't exonerate, it doesn't mean that you are mentally healthy. Okay. Now, but it is just the level of your psychological well-being, the level of your emotional and social well-being. That's what mental health is. Okay. Now let's talk about psychoactive substances that people abuse. When you hear psychoactive substances, we are simply talking about um psychoactive substances are just like substances that interfere with your psychology, like just like the name implies, that the moment you absorb any substance, that the moment you take in or that the moment you absorb has an influence on your mental process, which includes um your cognitive process. When you talk about cognition, we're talking about your thinking, the way you think now, and also your affective process. Okay, so any substance at all, whether alcohol, whether drugs or whatever that you use that has an influence, it has a yeah, it has an influence. Yeah, that's just it on both your cognitive and your affective state. It's called the psychoactive substances. Now, there are three categories of psychoactive substances. The first one is stimulants. Okay, some people just want to be stimulated. They just want to do things that ordinarily they can't do on a good day. So those classes of substances are called stimulants. Now, there's another class of drug that is called suppressive drugs and substances. Suppressive substances are those ones that people tend to use when they want to forget, they want to delete or suppress a particular feeling, a particular perception, a particular mood, a particular process at a particular time. Those are suppressive substances. So that's another category of psychoactive substances. Now, the third group of psychoactive substances that we have is the hallucinogenics. Just like the name implies, hallucinogenics are just drugs or substances that you use and make you see things as unreal, like they appear to be not real to you. Okay, they kind of make those things kind of look false, kind of look not in their real state. So that is hallucinogenic substances. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Now, what are the examples of some of these substances? We have cannabis. Cannabis is also known as marijuana. Okay, we have tobacco. That's the one that is commonly found everywhere. Cigarettes. We have alcohol. Alcohol are in different forms, in different mm, formulations, and all of that. Some of them are even in form of herbs, in form of dry gin, and all of that. You just know some of them are even in wines and very tough concentrated genes. Okay, then we have stimulant, like we've said already, the stimulant like the cocaine, the heroin, and the likes. They are all stimulants. Then we have opioids. Opioids are like the tramadol that people use, those strong opioid analgesics that people use just to, and we have caffeine. As simple as as unserious as caffeines are very, very, very potent. Okay, and a lot of people take so much of it without even realizing it. Okay, like your Nescafe is a caffeinated beverage. Okay, it alters your level of consciousness. Okay, so those are the common examples of psychoactive. So there are so many. We have the LSG. We have so many. Now, how do drugs affect you? They affect you in so many ways. Of course, they affect you first of all physically, like your health. They affect you. They affect you psychologically. They interfere with your cognition, your perception, your level of consciousness. Okay, that's psychologically. They affect your social well-being. Of course, the way you behave, like your affects after that you take a particular or a certain substance is totally different. Okay, so that's another way that substances affect you now. But the level or the way in which it affects you depend on a certain factors. Like it depends on the type of drug that you're using. Depends on whether the drug has been mixed with something or you used it alone. For instance, we all know that there are some drugs that are synergistic. For what I mean is this, like if you use a particular drug together with another drug, you know that the effect of that drug or the potency of that drug is increased than when you use it alone. I don't know if it makes any sense. Like when you use a particular drug and you use it in addition to another drug just to increase the efficacy of that drug or the potency of that drug, then you are increasing the synergy of that drug. That's what some people do as well with drugs. Okay, they know that, oh, this particular drug will give them a certain effect, but they won't use that drug alone. So what they do is they use a little bit of this and combine it a little bit of this. When they put it together, the potency or the effect of what they're expecting is increased. Okay, now the amount that you take also depends on what happens to you. Now the environment or the social situation in which you take it. Okay, how where exactly, some people, the way they take it when they're at home is different from the way they take it when they get to parties. It's different from the way they take it when they get to clubs. Okay, so where you take it is also determine the effect that the drug will have on you. Now, the experience, your previous experiences of this particular drug, how did you feel when you use this particular drug? It also depends. And then what you expect, what are your expectations? Because of course, when people use a certain drug, they already have expectation. They want to feel a certain way, they want to do a certain thing in a particular way, they want to deaden a particular consciousness or mood or something. Okay, then your mental state at the time that you took the drug. Okay, and then how often you take the drug determines how a certain drug affects you. Now let's talk about the risk factors of drug abuse. What exactly is responsible for people abusing substances? Why do people abuse substances? Number one, peer pressure. Okay, you want to belong, you want to feel like, okay, you want to act like a particular person, you want to be like a particular person. Okay, you don't want somebody feeling like they have more influence than you do. So that's one major factor that people experiment with drugs. Then another thing is the curiosity. The people have a desire to experiment. A lot of what is it called? Yeah, desire. People want to. They are curious. They want to know what happens when you take this particular drug. So out of curiosity, people start taking or abusing substances. Okay. Then stress is another one. Now people feel like, oh, when you take a particular drug, it eases off your stress. Like it makes you relax in a certain way. So they just use it as a kind of coping, I don't know, a kind of stress coping mechanism or something like that. Now, another reason why people abuse substances is because of the kind of jobs that you do. There are certain jobs that are high risk jobs, and you hear people say that, oh, you can't do this one with open eye, or you need to be like on another level before you can, before you can what is it called, and before you can feel in, like before you can be efficient, okay, because the kind of jobs that they do, probably they're high risk job. They have to stay maybe um under the underwater for weeks. Maybe they have to be in a particular area for some time. So many reasons why people take or abuse drugs. But these are some of the major reasons why people. Yes, there are so many. Some of them are because of low parental supervision. Some parents don't even have time for their kids, so they are going to, like, kids are constantly doing things that they ordinarily wouldn't do if they had proper supervisions. Then family relations. Some people, interestingly, were lured into trying out with substances because of a family relative. They probably see maybe their dad, probably their mom, who smokes, who drinks, in their presence, and they don't consider anything harmful about it. So then another reason is rapid urbanization. Like, there is, the level of civilization and urbanization that is going on has changed and modified so many things. There are so many things that people are afraid to do before because there wasn't increased modernization. But with the level that we are at now, it continues to be an issue. Then another thing is rapid family breakdown, like the family structure disintegration. Whether we like it or yes, whether we like talking about these things or yes, see, the disintegration of a family structure affects and impairs so many things, especially the upbringing of a child. Think about when a mother is available and around, like, and the father is there to play his father figure, and the mother is there to play the mother figure. And of course, they are going to set proper examples, like by modeling. Not just that, they are going to see to it that, okay, they know exactly what their children are doing, even behind closed doors, and they are going to constantly, encourage them, talk them out of things that ordinarily, would have influenced or harmed the child. But because the mother is not in the picture anymore, a father is not in a child's life anymore, it has a lot of negative effects on the child. Then advertise the way they the way drugs are being advertised, like, you probably think there's nothing wrong. Funny enough, they write it boldly on it that smokers are liable to die young, but it doesn't still mean that people don't buy. Like, people continue to abuse substances and continue to take alcohol, drugs, even though they tell you drink responsibly, drink like this, drink like that. But it doesn't stop them from putting out very attracting advertising. Sometimes you watch this advert and you feel like, oh wow, is this thing really harmful? Like, and you also want to, you want to check it out. And also the way the haphazard drug distribution line is also a major factor. So those are the things. Now let's talk about the specific clinical condition. What do people present with when they abuse drug? There are so many. I think I just want to be very quick with this. And this is the first one is acute intoxication. You see, the moment people get high on drugs, or the moment people take certain drugs, there is something associated, which is the intoxication. The acute means that it is short-lived. He's not talking about the severity now. He's talking about how quickly, it's not something that lingers for the acuity means that it's short-lived. It's just for a short time. The intoxication doesn't stay there for you. It wears out with time. So, and it it is transient, okay, and it has a lot of things to do. It causes a disturbance in the level of consciousness, yeah, in the level of consciousness of people, in the cognitive perception of people, in the affect or behavior of people, in other psychological, physiological functions and responses, and closely related to the those levels that people take, okay, of course. And acute intoxication can be in different forms. It could be uncomplicated, like there's nothing else. It's just that this person is intoxicated, and it could have many other things alongside with it, with trauma, with delirium, with coma, with so many things. And there's also the pathological one, but this one is is only very common with people who abuse alcohol, okay, not with other drugs. Okay, now let's talk about dependence syndrome. The dependence syndrome is addiction. Okay, this is what happens. Let's talk about how drug abuse and drug misuse leads to addiction. Now, this is what happens when you begin to misuse a drug. Okay, you are using a drug in the way, in the amount, or in the pattern in which it wasn't intended. Okay, before you know it, it becomes an abuse. Okay, now abuse means that you are using the drug for the wrong purpose. For instance, the people who made this drug made it for probably for you to sleep. Now you have turned it to something that makes you just induce euphoria. Euphoria means a level of happiness, okay, that is not like you just induced it, right? Now, so from misusing a drug, it became an abuse. Now, after a long time of using a particular drug, your body develops what is called tolerance to that drug. Now, you begin to tolerate even high doses of that drug. For instance, if normally the prescribed drugs you're supposed to take for analgesic is 1000 milligrams, like for paracetamol is 1000 milligrams. Now, you now start taking it like you took one and which you are supposed to take 8 hour interval, like 8 hourly. Okay. Now you no longer take it 8 hourly, you're taking it like four hourly. Now a time will come because of the way a certain way it makes you feel. You now double digits. Maybe let's say you started taking like 1500 milligrams in 4 hours. Your body continues to develop tolerance, okay, to a point that even when you use that 1500, it won't do anything to you. Like it won't have effect on you. You might have to increase the dosage, okay. Now you keep increasing the dosage until it gets to a point your body has developed like what is called tolerance. Now from tolerance, your body develops what is called dependent syndrome. Dependent syndrome means that if you don't use that particular drug, you don't feel good. Like you don't feel a certain way. Okay, for people who already use it for to feel a certain way. Okay, so it means that constantly your body has to depend on that drug to feel that way. And don't forget that you've already increased the dose of the drug multiple times. You're now using it for a purpose for which it is not intended. Don't delete that out of it. Now, your body has tolerated high doses of it to an extent. Now, so it gets to a point that if you don't use that particular drug, you won't be fine, honestly. You will have a constant desire to use it. That is when addiction sets in. So, and the truth is that when it becomes an addiction, until you use that drug, you don't feel okay. So, people have an unresistible urge. They know that even though they know that it is not okay for them to use it, they continue to use it, okay? They continue to use it. So, it becomes kind of a kind of desirous, even though it is unwanted, but the urge is constant. The urge is this like persistent until they use it before they feel better. So that is what an addiction is. You see how misuse, okay, leads to abuse, and then leads to tolerance, and then leads to dependence syndrome, and then leads to addiction ultimately. And when an individual is addicted, there is a problem. Okay, there is, in fact, it means that they have to, they will, and they must get that drug or substance by all means. If it means selling the person that they live with, if it means selling their property, if it means donating a body part to get that substance, they are definitely going to do it because they are afraid of something called withdrawal symptoms. So withdrawal symptoms are just a series of symptoms that is associated with very, very, very disturbing symptoms, okay, that an individual have if they don't use a certain drug. So imagine if you already know that, oh, if you don't use this paracetamol, you're going to have depression, and this depression is chronic, and you start having anxiety, you start having panic attack. People don't want to start feeling that way. They don't want to start having seizures and rigor before they use it. So before when the moment they start feeling that urge, oh, they are feeling a certain way, they quickly go and use it. You see why it is difficult for you to pull out from addiction, right? So now let's continue with the next point. So we've talked about we are talking about the specific clinical symptom, that's the mental and behavioral problems or disorders that happen due to drug abuse. The first one we said is acute intoxication, and the second one is harmful use. The harmful use is just that the damage it causes can be physical, it could be mental, and there are also socially negative consequences associated. People need to know, okay, for every drug that you abuse, there are negative consequences. Okay, now we have the dependence syndrome, and that's the addiction part that I've talked about. There's a strong sense of desire compulsion, okay, to take that substances, and they have difficulty in even cutting back on the amount or stopping the substances, and they have evidence of tolerance for people like that. There is progressive neglect of pleasures and activities of interest. For instance, they begin to lose interest in their job, they begin to lose interest in things that normally would make them interested, okay? So they begin to ignore their personal hygiene and all of that. Those are the things that harmful behavior, in fact. So there are so many, so many, and that can lead to physical dependence, psychological dependence, and all of that. Then we have the withdrawal state. The withdrawal state can actually be uncomplicated, okay, and it could be with convulsion. Convulsion is like seizure; they have seizure problems, and this actually happen with just maybe when an individual has absolute, like total withdrawal or just a relative withdrawal from the substance. Okay, now another major a mental problem or disorder with mental drug use is psychotic disorder. Now, see, when I was a student during clinical times, see during mental health postings and all of that, I've seen so many people, like especially young people. Now, I'm not saying it's only young people that are abusing substances. There are a lot of aged people who are also dealing with substance abuse, but the rate at which young people abuse substances is alarming. Okay, that's why I say it's a global menace. It's a major issue because it causes a lot of issues, societal, criminal, and all of that. And when it becomes, or when it tends towards psychotic problems, it is more serious, like it's more severe. So at that point, you want to, at that point, you just want to save the person's life. Okay, now, psychotic problems occur during or immediately after psychotic substances have been taken. It can be immediately, it can be gradual. Okay, there's also a lot of mental disorders due to the use of alcohol. There are so many. We've talked about euphoria. We've talked about difficulty in walking, the way they eat. Of course, it affects their appetite and all of that. Then there is also this dependence syndrome, there's withdrawal states, there's delirium. Usually, there are so many issues. They have blackout, they have tremor. You see them, they have anxiety, they have panic attacks, they have aggression, they have irritability, they have lack of interest in activities of daily living. Okay, people that normally they will see with families and gist and talk, they start avoiding families, they start hiding, they start involving in criminal activities and events and all of that. So, and those are, especially these ones I mentioned, are basically attached to alcohol. I've talked about the first one I talked about was for um stimulants generally. Okay. Now we've talked about all this one. Let's talk about mental disorders that happen due to the use of opioids. And we mentioned examples of opioids like morphine, like heroin, like diacetaminophen, codeine, petidine, methadone, and the likes of them. And they do so many things. They do so many things. I can't even begin to go into each and every one of them one after the other. But you know that from the use of heroin, people can get um, so many, what is it called, transmitted illnesses, okay, like HIV and the likes, communicable diseases, hepatitis C and the likes. And also you should know that heroin is, because it's parenteral, so it can lead to death. A large amount can lead to instantaneous death, or overdose can lead to death. Needle sharing increases the risk of transmission of diseases, and there's treatment of the withdrawal syndrome actually. Now, let's talk about mental disorders associated with the use of cannabis, that is marijuana, that we talked about before. Most times it could be acute, it could be chronic. Okay, for acute, there is memory loss, there is impaired attention. Okay, these people, they have panic attacks, they have anxiety. Those are for people that abuse marijuana and the likes. And that is for people that are having the acute form. There's anxiety, irritability, aggression, and all of that. And psychomotor performance, like the use of their muscle becomes a problem. Okay, they have issues with coordination. You see them staggering and all of that, talking out of. And they also have increased risks for road accidents and trauma and all of those. They are vulnerable among vulnerable people. Now let's talk about the chronic forms. The chronic forms can lead to bronchitis, like, beg your pardon, the bronchi can be inflamed. Okay, they have issues with their lungs, and all of that. And depend it can cause a dependence syndrome. Okay, there is also attention span deficit problems. Okay, they have issues with retaining attention and all of that. They have short memory loss, ability to organize things and integrate complex information as well. Now let's talk about people who abuse sedatives and hypnotics. Sedatives are like the benzodiazepines and the likes. So what they do is that there is an increased risk for dependence for people who abuse this particular sedative general. Sedatives are like drugs that make you fall asleep, they make you drowsy, they sedate, like the word sedation. Okay. Now we have, depending on the type that they are abusing, we have short-term sedative, we have long-term sedatives, I be long-acting and short-acting sedatives. Now, so for these ones too, interact if they interact with drugs, people use them alongside with alcohol and all of that. It can induce qualitative changes in the level of consciousness of a person, like how alert you are. That's why the person could be, have be subconscious. The person could be drowsy and all of that. Now there are so many with the use of mental disorders associated with the use of stimulants. That's hard to example of that is the cocaine, the amphetamines, the methamphetamines and the likes. So these ones give you a positive, on a good day, they give you positive mood, okay, but there is diminished or reduced need for sleep. They're always alert, it stimulates you. They have tachycardia, that's a very fast pulse rate. They have absence of rhythm of the heart. They have severe craving because they have withdrawal. That's for people that are already having withdrawal syndrome. So they have severe cravings, they have depression, they have decreased appetite, decreased energy, there's fatigue, there's sleep disturbance, and all of that, and all of that. And don't forget that for people who abuse stimulants, especially that's for cocaine and the likes, they have an increased risk for aggression, irritability, suspiciousness, anxiety states, and the likes. And don't forget that prolonged use of this particular kind of drug can lead to paranoid psychosis. Now, for people who abuse hallucinogens, we said hallucinogenics are the drugs that make things appear unreal. Okay, the people who hallucinate. Okay, of course, too, it depends on whether it is an acute intoxication or whether they are having withdrawal symptoms. For people like that, they also have unpredictable and dangerous behavior. You can't predict them, okay? You can do anything. And their withdrawal symptoms have really not been described for people that are, abusing hallucinogens. Now, for people who abuse volatile solvent, there are some people, this are another group of substances that I was trying to recall the other time. Volatile substances like they can diffuse, they inhale it, okay, and it can diffuse into the atmosphere and all of that. Examples include the acetone, includes the toluene, includes the adhesives, the petrol. Some people are addicted to petrol, addicted to acetones. Interestingly, like it's crazy, but it's true. Some people are addicted to cleaning fluids, as insensible as that sounds, or I don't know how else to say. Now, what does this do to them, like mental problems or disorders associated with volatile solvent? You can talk about euphoria. That's for people who have acute intoxication, or they have euphoria, they have disorientation, there's incoordination, there's slurred speech, like their speech is slurred, they don't talk well. They have visual hallucination, like visual. Hallucinations can be in different forms, and the way of use. The way of use of these things are very dangerous, so it can actually even kill instantaneously. You can imagine. Now, before I conclude, let me talk about, because see, as much as this is something that we keep on talking about regularly, the most important part is how can this thing be prevented? Like, as much as a lot has been said, like, the main reason why we are even creating this awareness and sharing this information is because we want to provide key strategies that will help people make informed healthy decisions as regards their choices. Okay, it's easier for you to um make a decision when you understand the implication of the consequence of such a decision. Okay, so that's why prevention is a vital way. It involves a combination of key strategies. It's not just a one-way route, and this thing involves everybody, like every single body, ranging from the family to the community to the government to the society at large to individuals themselves. We all have key roles to play. But the first one is education and awareness. When we provide accurate information, and um, informed, like we provide information as regards the risk, as regarding the consequences of, okay, what happens to you when you do this thing, how, okay, what and what, can happen and all of that, you know. That's why we always provide education is very, very important, and it helps people to make both long-term and short-term decisions as well, because of course there are long-term and short-term effects. Okay, and this can help individuals make informed decisions, and also to resist the temptation to experiment. We say some people, out of curiosity, they just want to know, oh, what happens when you do this particular thing and all of that. All right. So that is the second one, is strengthening protective factors. Okay, we are trying to develop and enhance protective factors like strong problem solving skills. The reason why some people do this is because they encounter a particular problem that they have challenge, they have a difficulty solving. So we believe that when people are empowered and they are strengthened with problem solving skills, in fact, they don't have to rely on substances or drugs, okay, to do what is right or follow the right thing. Okay, so that's the thing. Healthy coping mechanisms are very, very important. We need to tell people that, see, substances are not the alternative they are not alternatives to coping mechanisms. People need to develop coping mechanisms on their own, like, oh, when I am tired, when I am stressed, this is what I do to relieve stress. This is a healthy approach. This is, you can go for a walk if it means taking a good sleep, if it means working out, if it means exercising, if it means eating a particular healthy drink. Okay, not the energy drinks now. I mean, you can make fruit drink, healthy food drink that you make on your own, make you relax better. Good music. Okay, these are better coping mechanisms or strategies that will help people rather than depending on substances to help them relax and feel good. Okay, so another way is building life skills. We need to see, we can't overemphasize this point. Like, people need to build sustainable life skills, okay, that are essential in helping them in their decision making process, in their assertiveness. Some people they lack self-esteem, they struggle with inferiority complex. Okay, they want to sound more assertive, they want to appear more um a certain way, I don't know, and those are the reasons. But when people are empowered with, and when people are encouraged to pick up these building skills, on their own, it's a good way rather than falling back on substances or drugs to make them confident, to make them assertive, to help them in their decision making. You need to learn how to put your foot on the ground and say, oh, this is what I want to do, this is not what I want to do, this is my life ambition, this is how I want to work towards it, and all of that. So these are very necessary. Communication skills are very necessary. Stress management skill, like I said before, can equip individuals and people in making better informed choices and providing them with necessary tools that will assist them, of course, to resist all these peer pressure influences. We've talked about them and make healthy choices. Okay, now we talked about the parental involvement. Like I said before, whether we like it or not, the family unit is vital. Okay, when the family unit disintegrates, it impairs a lot of things: the effectiveness of a child, the upbringing of a child, the psychological growth, and physical growth, and even emotional development of a child. So parents and family needs to provide support. It's unfortunate that some families that are even the cause of why, okay, that are responsible for the falling apart of their kids or young people who became victims of substance abuse. Okay, so but parents, and this is a call out, or yeah, what I call it, a call out to parents, okay, to help provide support. Our young people, our teenagers need support at every stage of their life. We need to learn how to communicate with them, how to relate with them, how to support them, how to encourage them, even when you feel like they are not on the same page. Okay, we need to come to their level so they can understand. So promoting these effective parenting practices is very, very essential. We need to set clear rules and expectations. Parents need to be firm, okay? They need to be firm in their parenting. You can't just be and you can't just allow anything, because kids don't know that some of these things are dangerous until when they're already well into it. So better. You need to foster open communication, help them, let them open up. and tell you something that they're going through so that you know a better way to counsel them and all of that. And they need emotional support at every stage of their life. Like I said before, we need to actively participate, okay, in their lives. And we need to also significantly reduce their likelihood of substance abuse. Now, another thing is that we need to create a good environment, a drug-free environment. It's so unfortunate that we talked about the environment and the availability of these drugs. See the way they advertise substance, the way they advertise and promote some of these substances and these drugs. Okay, it makes them appear healthy and safe. Okay, so we need to create a drug-free environment. If our environment is saturated with these drugs, they are readily available over the counter everywhere. Of course, because of the availability, people would just be getting it anyhow they like. So implementing policies and regulation that discourage the availability and the access to drugs, such as strict control over prescription medications and legal consequences for drug related offenses, can help reduce substance abuse. Okay, so all these things are very, very important. Then, I already said that this is not just a one person job. Like everybody should, all hand must be on deck. Parents, community, what is it called? Our law enforcement agencies and all of that. So the involvement of the community organizations, of schools, of healthcare, law enforcement agencies in prevention can raise awareness, okay? Because at the end of the day, the effect of this thing tells on everybody. It tells on the community, it tells on the society, it tells on our schools, it tells on the productivity of individuals, okay? It affects everybody at the end of the day. So that's why we need to have a joint action. Like we need to commit to joint effort, okay, to provide all these resources and initiate collaborative programs to address substance abuse effects, okay, and their issues. Then another one is early intervention and treatment. Of course, for people who are already into it, the statistics are raging. See, it's not something we can begin to talk about. We said both it's more common amongst the young people, but adult and aged people as well. Um, are part of it. So for people who are already into it, we need to provide early intervention before it gets to the level of life-threatening issues and psychotic, beg your pardon, psychotic issues. We need to provide early intervention and treatment. So identifying and addressing these symptoms earlier, okay, is going to go a long way. It's very crucial. And also, we need to provide accessible and evidence-based treatment services should be available for individuals who are already deep into, like I said, struggling with substance abuse, like rehabilitative programs, campaigns, and all of that to help struggling people already. Now, media campaigns is very, very important. Like this one I'm doing now, it's very important. Public health campaigns are very, very essential. We need to share. That's why I'm going to employ and beg you to share this information with as many people as many young people that not just young people, as many people would benefit from it. So public health campaigns can deliver effective messaging about the dangers. When you do it on a large scale and it reaches a lot of people, it's very, very, very paramount. And this can influence the attitudes, the behavior, and all of that of people, and thereby in a way increasing awareness and reducing the risks or the preventing initiation. Okay. Now, the last but not the least is the mentoring and the positive role models. See, children especially learn more by what they see. They learn more by what we model to them, the examples that are readily available to them. Okay. So it's very important that we provide access to supportive mentors. When I say mentor, let them be trusted mentors. Now the world is just so crazy and so messed up. A lot of things are going on. So just be sure this is a trusted mentor, okay? And all of that. We need to provide all this access to supportive role models that can help young people, okay? Young people and also help them develop healthy relationships. There's some things that probably that depends on the kind of relationship that you develop with your kids. Anyway, I believe that sometimes if we have open communications with children, with young people, they feel at home, yeah, and it's easy for them to come out of their shell and tell you a problem that they are going through, a kind of struggle that they have to deal with. And when you know what it is, okay, then you can helped or provide interventions. Is that not it? So that's why we are talking about mentoring, all of that. It doesn't even have to be a stranger. You can be the mentor now if you know you're on the same page. Okay. Now, policies and regulations are very, very important and paramount. You need to develop and enforce policies that will limit the marketing. You know, the way this thing is saturated, everywhere is saturated, is, it has become so readily available everywhere. Even the ones that are strictly supposed to be over the counter medications are now even the so-called pharmacists and the people who dispense these medications, they are not even helping as well, because when people pay a certain amount, probably double the price, they give it out. So all these are break. They are there should be serious litigations, okay, for people who break the rules, okay, people who interferes with the regulations, with the policies that have been enacted, and everyone should, like, it should be known, it should be public. You get it? It should be obvious so that other people can see that we are not joking here. If you do this particular thing, this is the penalty, this is the consequence that you have to face, probably. Okay. So these are the things that we need to talk about if drug abuse or substance abuse will be eradicated or prevented. Okay. So um it is important to know that prevention or preventive efforts are tailored to specific populations. You can't see the strategies we are providing is not a one for everyone kind of group. You target a particular population of people and you use a particular key strategy. The kind of key strategy that you use or prevention strategy that you use for young people is actually very different from what you use for middle-aged people. It's also different from what you use for adults, because see, life phases, our expectations, or what do we call it, at every stage of life, it's not different, it's not the same. The expectations of your people, what they intend to get, the experimentation and curiosity level is not the same with what a middle-aged person have. So that is why you need to work on population-based. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So then we need to consider the cultural context as well. There are some cultures that the way they use a particular thing, there's a particular culture that they use alcohol in a certain way. Okay, so all of this, we need to provide information, we need to provide awareness. People need to know, we should tailor them towards cultural context too, so that when we are talking about these things, people will know that we're not really coming to come and interfere with a particular pattern of thing. We are only interested in the greater good of the people, in a greater outcome, in a better country, in a better society, in a better development of individuals, right people, right? And taking also into account factors such as the age, like the gender, these are very, very important, the socio-economic status, and as well the community norms of this people. At this point, I think I've been talking so much, but at this point, if you have any question, if you have any contribution, anything whatsoever, please feel free to drop your questions, your comments, your contributions in the comment section. Okay, I'm going to answer them. And if there's anything you think is like clarification, you're welcome to. Okay, so if this is the first time that you're stopping by, I want to plead that you consider subscribing. Please subscribe. This is Pj-Cosmopolitan, and I feel about faith, health, book reviews, lifestyle in general. Okay, so I'm sure you're going to get value for your time's worth. Okay, so please consider subscribing, and not just subscribe, comment, drop your views, and what other topic would you like that I should talk about again next time. And as well, share this video. Please let me share this video. There's many people as well, especially young people, they need to hear, they need to know, they need to be informed, they need to be aware. This is the way we are empowering our society, empowering our community, empowering the nation, and empowering the world. Information is vital, like knowledge is vital. Okay, somebody said that substance abuse is poison. Drug abuse is poison, and poison, according to someone, is anything that you, how did he even say it, like, I'm trying to remember. Okay, I think he said it in a way like anything that is beyond what you need, right? So whenever you use drug that is beyond what you need, it's not just drug now, power, laziness, ego, I don't know, money, whatever that you need, that you are using beyond what you need, just know that it is poisonous. It won't benefit you. It's not healthy. It's not the best. Okay, so this is my call out, or this is by way of concluding and trying to plead with people out there, not just young people now, both parents, both tutors, both learners, I don't know, young people, aged people. We need to work hand in hand. We need to support one another. You see, this society is ours, the nation is ours, and it starts from our community, the nucleus of the community, the the family units. We need to, we need to watch how we are building what we are building, how that we are building it. These things are very important, because at the end of the day, this is the way we are giving back to the society. It is what you impact in your child, like either by maybe role modeling, examples that you show. These are the things that will show them, okay, you are doing this thing rightly, you are doing this thing wrongly. We need to be firm on our decisions, especially with children, but for people who are parenting. We need to encourage them. We need to show them kindness, show them love, that you are enough for them. You are there for them. Give them a listening ear, open communication, cease to be judgmental, correct in love. Okay. And if you're a parent, or I don't know, that you smoke or you drink and you think you don't, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. For the sake or for the future of the kids or the young people, we can cut down on all these habits. I know it is not easy, but I've mentioned so many of the ways that we can do these things. We can prevent, we can treat as well. And if you know it's beyond something that you can control, you can go to a mental health facility. I'm not saying, whenever people hear mental health facility, they think they want to admit them because of the stigmatization and all of that involved with mental health, and all of that. So this is the best way we can build our nation, build our country, build and impact the world. Because a drug-free world, a drug-free community, family, nation is a healthy community, nation is a thriving one. In fact, it's a successful one, because we've touched down on substance. We said substance drains you, it drains your substances, it drains your money, it drains your potential, it drains your ambition. In fact, it makes the future appear bleak, because at the end of the day, you eventually lose interest in even activities of daily living, like activities that normally would have given you interested you, you lose your interest. So with these few points, with these few points of mine, I think I've been able to convince you, right, that substance abuse is not worth it, right? So tell someone to tell someone to tell someone. Substance abuse is dangerous, it's poisonous, and it is lethal. Like, it can kill, it can take your life prematurely. And ultimately, let me conclude by saying that the only way, or the ultimate way, okay, the ultimate way to live a drug-free life is to live a life for Christ, to live the life of Jesus. A life with Christ is a life of freedom. Christ will empower you. You know that science, medicine, human knowledge is limited. At the end of the day, medicine will try their best. Of course, they're doing a lot of good. They're helping people in the best possible way. But beyond all of that, we should not forget that um, the only person who genuinely or who ultimately sets us free is Jesus. Because the reasons why people do some of these things is for so many unbelievable reasons. They do it to be happy, to be pleasant, to feel good, for pleasure and all of that. At the end, after all taking all these things, when you ask them, they still tell you they didn't derive the kind of joy they expected or that they envisaged. So this is me, you know, encouraging you today to give Jesus a chance in your life. Let him be Lord and Savior of your life, and surrender. Like, choose to separate from. If you know a friend or an activity or something that lures you into the use of these substances, you need to avoid them. Intentional avoidance of these things. Then God now helps you to separate from them, so that he enables you to be able to now, be totally free from these things. I pray that in the end, you'll be proud of the choices and the decisions that you took in the long run. In Jesus' name. Thank you so much for your time. I remain Peace Ogurumbi, and I will catch you in my next one. Please help me share this video and drop your questions. Bye.